Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Today I'm wearing my classic sweater by Espace Tricot. I think Melissa Clulow designed this. This is a really nice, super cozy, free pattern. So they have a series of awesome patterns that are kind of like usually wool and mohair or like a wool folk, super like fluffy yarn, kind of held single, but sometimes it's like wool and mohair held double, or wool and Surrey or whatever. And this one's called the Classic, and almost all Espace Tricot's patterns are free. Like 95% of their patterns are free. So this one's free. They also have one named Paloma, which is basically this exact thing, but it just has these beautiful, like this twisted rib kind of turtleneck here. It just like on the sleeves, it just continues. It's kind of like Tin Can Knits Flax, where those garter panels go all the way down the sleeves, but it's twisted ribbing. And I made that once, very beginning of COVID, like March, April 2020. I was come back from England. I had some Devonia from John Arbin that I'd gotten on sale, and I held it with some mohair that I dyed, and I made it, well, I intended to make it for myself, but those patterns have a ton of positive ease. I had made the smallest size and it was ginormous. I felt like a sweatshirt, which was great, just kind of wasn't really the style that I wanted. So I gave it to my mom. Well, no, my mom put it on and was like, well, you don't really like this, so I'm gonna keep it, which was fine. But so when I made this, basically, and I don't feel bad telling you this because this pattern is free, basically what happens is this is just a regular raglan, top down, super simple. There's a 4 round repeat when you do the increases. So on a regular top-down raglan crew neck that you were just gonna knit plain vanilla, you basically would knit 1 round plain, and then you would knit 1 round increasing 8 stitches around, 2 stitches at each of 4 raglan points. But on this one, you do like that round, the increase 8 stitches, then you do 1 plain knit round, then you do another 8 increases, and then on the 4th row, you increase on the front and the back and not on the sleeves. So you increase on the insides of these 2 raglan points and the insides of these 2 raglan points, and not on the outsides, or what I would call the outsides, because I'm saying that for whatever, to make it more obvious for the sleeves. And so the body is a lot bigger than basically the sleeves would be for that sweater if it were a crew neck. So for me, I didn't want that much. I wanted some more ease, but I didn't want that much more ease. So I just did that 4th round special increase on the body every other time I got to 4. So I did an 8 round repeat. I did increase, knit, increase, knit, increase, knit, increase, body increase. So I have a video about this sweater from like February, so I'll link it down in the show notes. If you want to watch it. This is one of my favorite mugs. I'm not a hoarder, I'm a yarn connoisseur. This mug was a present from Knittin. If you don't know who Knittin is, go back a few episodes. He's one of my, well, he's my like best friend, but he knits, and he was on the channel a few weeks ago. Thought we were talking about knitting. Knittin' with Knittin. And he got me this mug. I think Knittin watches this. He's my only friend who watches this really consistently, which is great. Because he can answer all my questions about myself. I think he got this for me when I turned 10,000 days old, which is something that our like grad school friend group celebrates. We celebrate our 10,000th day, and it happens when you are about 27 and a half, in case you were wondering how many 10,000s of days old you are. So it was like in my calendar, because we'd all put them in our calendars one night when we were in grad school, and I was probably 25 or 26 at the time, probably 25. And I was like, oh, it's in a couple of years. Let me put that in my calendar for 2021. I did. And I was like, I'm turning 10,000 days old. And it was like May 2021. So it was like, we'd gotten vaccinated and stuff, but like, you know, I still didn't really, I was living in DC then. I might have like, well, I'd already started my channel at that point, so I might have talked about it. Anyway, we went out for dinner in Annapolis because I was living in DC and he was living in Baltimore, and so we met in the middle and we just like had like dinner and ice cream, and we were like, Emma's 10,000 days old. So his 10,000th day is not for a while. I'm 3 years older than Knittin, so it's a few years from now. But anyway, it was fun, and he got me this, and he got me red Gatorade because I hate I hate yellow Gatorade, and he hates red Gatorade, and we argue about the best Gatorade flavor a lot. And he got me a red Gatorade as like, you know, we're like true friends because on a special day for you, I will buy a red Gatorade, which I find an abhorrent thing to do generally, you know. So he got me this and a red Gatorade. And I just got this back because, wow, 5 minutes in, I haven't really, well, I talked about this, so that's fine. I went to my nanny kid's house. I think I said this last time because I went 2 weeks ago almost. It's Friday today. Usually I record on Saturdays, but tomorrow Jordan and I are going hiking with one of her friends at like super early in the morning, so I'm not gonna have time to record before we go. And I happened to wake up at like 4:30 in the morning today and just, I got a bunch of spinning done. Spoiler alert, we're gonna mostly talk about spinning today because I have, and one project that I knit. But anyway, I just figured it's like 7 in the morning now. The light's not great because it's starting to be dark in the mornings now until, you know, the early November, whenever we turn the clocks back. I think this is the last year we're doing that. Like, that's kind of weird. People are like happy about it because it means we're gonna have like more daylight in the winter, but I'm like in the afternoon, and I'm like, no. I do not want to be waking up at 8 a.m. and it's still dark. I mean, I would never wake up at 8 a.m. I've like hardly ever done that in my life. I'm a chronic undersleeper. But it would be like dark at 8 a.m. I'm like, ew, no, I don't want that. I want it to be light in the morning when I'm awake. So not that I'm not used to waking up in the dark because, like I said, 4:30, like that happens sometimes from time to time for sure. But anyway, that's a digression. It's starting to get light, but the light is not supernatural yet. That's why the lights are on. So hopefully nothing gets too blown out because I have a lot of vivid colors to show you because I've been spinning and dying. So I went to my nanny kid's house. I'm going back and finishing a story. And they gave me a box of stuff that was in their attic. Brooke brought it down from the attic. Like, my guitar was up there. They didn't even know whose guitar it was. And I was like, oh, that's mine. So now I have that back. I don't really play it, but it's nice to have it. And had a bunch of mugs in it and like a bunch of socks and tights. Not like knitted socks, but socks and tights that I've just, and a couple pairs of trousers, which I was really glad to have back. It was just like a random box of crap. And then I had fridge magnets. Then we put them on the fridge or in the board that have quotes from Mean Girls on them that my dad must have got me for Christmas once. My dad gets funny stocking stuffers like that are just kind of random. And Hannah came back from her trip. She went to Seattle last week, my roommate Hannah, and she was like, did you guys watch Mean Girls? And I was like, oh no, we got these magnets that I found in this box. And I put them everywhere, like next to our grocery list on the whiteboard. I put a magnet that says, is butter a carb? If you've never seen Mean Girls, it's like a classic millennial movie from 2004, directed by Lorne Michaels, and Tina Fey wrote it. And it's really funny. And it's, I mean, at this point, it's like 15 years old. So it's definitely, there are some lines that are not politically correct anymore. But it's still funny. And people my age love it. Anyway, let's get to the knitting. I got my mug back from Brooke and Tom's house. So I finished, speaking of the kids, good segue. I finished this little sweater for Clara. Clara's requested sunset sweater. And I don't remember, this must be the back. So I think this is gonna fit a 9-year-old, which is cool. I have not blocked this yet, which is why it looks a little not blocked. Unblocked. It's funny that when you're a knitter who doesn't block anything, you have no idea what it, like how it changes. But if like it's me, like I can look at something and be like, that sweater's not blocked. Like I could just know, like you just know, these bumpy things, those are all gonna just smooth out. So like I said, if you want to know the story about how I got this random yarn from my host mom in England's mother who passed away, who said, please give Emma all the yarn you can find in my house, which was really nice of her. This is her bag. Well, I'm not gonna share that, actually. But yeah, I think this is gonna fit Clara. She is super skinny, but she is long. She's a tall 9-year-old now. So I think this is gonna fit her. Hopefully the sleeves are long enough, but I can lengthen the sleeves. I could lengthen the whole thing because it'll definitely fit her around. So this is Clara's sunset sweater. Oh, I wanted to talk about the sleeves. This is an interesting thing. So if you know with a color changing yarn like this is some kind of German single ply yarn that I don't know where the label is, but I'll link it in the show notes because I have one. I have more balls of it. I just put it away. This is some kind of German. It's probably from the 80s. My Francis probably had it for years and years. You will notice, if you know with color changing yarns, that depending on the length of the round or row, the whiter the stripe will be. You know, the shorter, the fewer the stitches in the round or row, the wider the stripe will be. So here on the body and in the yoke, the stripes are pretty quick. The color changes happen often. They look pretty random. You know, some of them sort of fade into each other, but like there's all these purple kind of randomly, and some of that was from probably adding new skeins, but like this big red one, I think I had finished a skein on that red tomatoey color, and then the next one started with that color, so that's kind of wider. But on the sleeves, look how slow those changes are. It's so different. So that's illustrating a nice point, which is that you know, it's like self-striping yarns. Like think about like a sock. This is why it's good to knit like an afterthought heel or like a short row heel when you're knitting with self-striping yarn for socks, because if you knit a heel flap and gusset, that round's gonna be a bunch longer while you're decreasing those gusset stitches. So your stripes are gonna be different lengths over there, and it's like gonna break up your stripe sequence, especially if you use the same yarn for the heel. That's going to break up your stripe sequence. And so I personally, actually, usually, almost always, I use a different color for heels and toes, or for the heels for sure, and toes, not always for the cuffs, but I will usually use a different color for the heels and toes, because changing the length of the round changes the width of the stripe, changes, yeah, and like the heel messes with it, the sequence and all that stuff. So I tend not to, use self-striping yarns with the heel flap and gusset pattern. And I don't like afterthought heels as much, or shadow wrap I like better. It's like feels a little more stable to me. But I love the shadow wrap. If you've never tried the shadow wrap heel, check out Earth Tones Girls shadow wrap heel pattern. She says she didn't invent that pattern, but it's a great pattern, so you should check it out. And she has tutorials. I'm not knitting socks today, so I'm not really gonna link that kind of stuff, but you can check it out. But yeah, that's my spiel about that. I think I've explained myself enough. I think I got to the end of that thought. So I did do this week, and I actually started on a pair of DK socks with the Painted Hills colorway from Knit Picks. So if you watch my last episode, I talked about some DK socks that I made recently, and some yarn that I got to make some more, or that, yeah, I was balled up some yarn to make some more. So I'm gonna do the Painted Hills one. Well, I started it. It's like orange, yellow, and blue stripes, which I like a lot. And I'm doing, what did I pick for the, oh, I picked like a white yarn with these like green, yellow, and red speckles, which is really cool from, I made, that was from a Farmer's Daughters Club colorway. In 2021, I got the Farmer's Daughters Sock Club subscription box. Every month, there's just subscription of one skein of yarn plus a mini skein, which was awesome. But then I just made my own version of that this year because I had so much hand-dyed sock yarn that I have made myself. And so I made my mom one for Christmas. Open this on the first of every month, 12, yarn mystery club. And I gave it to her for Christmas last year, and I did it for myself too, but I know what the colors are gonna be. Like, but okay, let's talk about handspun, because if you watched my last episode, so Monica, my friend Monica, I gotta have Monica on the podcast or the channel. I've said this a bunch of weeks now, but now she lives here, and I'm like, you gotta come on the channel and talk with me about this. So Monica has a spinning wheel that her dad made. Apparently he made 4 of them. She told me this whole story about the spinning wheels. He's an amazing carpenter. And he made 4 spinning wheels because he saw somebody spinning at like a fair once when she was a teenager. And she's the same age as me for reference. He was like, I could make that. And he did. And Monica was very like interested in like how it worked when she was a teenager. So she said she wasn't knitting, but her mom has always been a knitter. And so like fiber was around, and she just really wanted to spin. Like she wanted to try it. And so she said she learned on a drop spindle when she was like camping. And then her dad built these wheels, and she used to spin yarn as just like something to do mechanically. Monica's a very mechanically minded person because she's an organist. So I hope she doesn't mind that I'm just blabbing about her and bragging about her amazing talents, but I don't think she watches this because she's too busy playing the organ. But she does live down the street now, which is like an insane lucky thing because we weren't not friends before, or we weren't friends from here. We met in grad school a long time ago, and we've been really good friends, kind of long distance. It was kind of, we didn't talk as much, and we always said we were going to, and we were like, we're gonna FaceTime every week and knit together, and we just kind of were both busy, and we didn't. But I was in her wedding a year ago, and then she moved here, which was like, holy crap, you just moved here to where I live. That's insane. So very grateful that she now lives here and we can knit together. So I went to Monica's because she was like, the spinning wheel's just taking up space. I don't really use it. Do you want to borrow it and try spinning? Because I had kind of been interested in that, and she just mentioned it like she didn't even know that, and I was like, no. And then boom, I decided I wanted to do it. So I got it last weekend. We went to her house or apartment down the street, and we spun there, or she made a bunch of food while I tried it out because she kind of showed me how to use it. It's very easy. So if you're a spinner, I don't have it right here because it's kind of big, but I could put it on the table, but I don't really want to. It's like the kind of wheel, again, I don't know any of these words, where the wheel's like right in front of you. It's not like on the back spinning here. It's like right there underneath the orifice. I know that word. I know a few words. So it's just as a drive band, and then the wheel, which has like a little hole in it, and then it doesn't have a lazy Kate, but it has what Monica just called bobbin storage, which I have used as my lazy Kate, but it's kind of like on the bottom, like next to the treadle. It's a single drive, and it doesn't work great to keep it there for plying. So I think I'm gonna try to make my own lazy Kate this weekend out of a shoebox and some dowels, and see if I can ply better, because I don't find it uncomfortable to spin with the treadle. Like I can go for a while, like an hour, not really any problem, treadling when I'm just spinning. But when I'm plying, I don't know if it's because I'm treadling a lot faster, but my back starts to hurt, or maybe it's because I have to sit closer to the wheel while I'm plying. I don't know what it is, or maybe it's because, I don't know, the bobbins are in a weird spot. I don't know, but plying is really uncomfortable. Makes my back hurt while I'm treadling. So that's just interesting. If anyone knows why, I think I'm right in that I'm just sitting up and treadling from a different position and a lot faster. Maybe I should just try plying in the same way that I'm spinning. But I don't think I can get the wheel going fast enough to ply well enough, because the plies I'm getting are not overplied. Like the ply most of the time, sometimes it's like a little too much, and I'll show you. Very exciting. I actually made some yarn. Anyway, so I have dyed some fiber. I've dyed a lot of fiber. I dyed some yarn. I showed you this yarn. I'm going to show you this because I dyed it. It was in the dye pot when I was giving you a little tour of my dye kitchen. If you've never dyed your own yarn, this is what it looks like, and do not be alarmed. Like it comes out of the thing like this. So you kind of have to like, I'm not going to do it now, but you kind of have to like whip it around a little, get it actually like into a skein. But this is the raspberry color I was dyeing, and then this is the mohair I dyed. This is for my friend Ivy, for her to make one of these. But I think she's gonna make Paloma with the sleeve ribbing. So she's gonna hold these together and make this. Yeah, it's gonna be really pretty. There's like some nice tonal variegation because I did some pour overs this one was like a deep magenta and like Cabernet and a little royal purple. And then I did like an oxblood pour over when it was simmering. That was nice. So this is my thing that I did. This is the most recent fiber that I dyed. Did this last night. This is like, it's wet because I just rinsed it with eucalypt, but it's like aqua and I love it. So there's that. I'm gonna put this in the ground because the basket's kind of wet. And this is what I'm spinning right now. I'm spinning these all together, which is really fun. I didn't dye this bright orange. My friend Sarah dyed this. She came over. My friend Sarah has an electric wheel. She has the electric eel. And I saw her spinning a ton. Like she got it kind of recently. She got it in like July. And so I have just like watched her spin a ton. And that's kind of what she was like, I like to think that I inspired this. And I was like, of course, obviously, like I watched you spin all summer. And then I was finally like, I gotta do that. So yeah, that has been fun. So she came over last night and we like swapped. She used the wheel and I used the like e-spinner. I think I'm gonna get an e-spinner because I think it's gonna solve, well, it's definitely gonna solve my treadle problems, but it might solve my plying problems too. Okay, I didn't finish describing the wheel. So again, it doesn't have like different whorls. It doesn't have like anything where you can adjust the tension. I don't even know, like, well, now I know because the electric thing has a tension adjustment, and I played with it last night, which was cool. It has like the electric eel wheel, by the way, is cheap. It's like $300. It's 3D printed. Everything you get with it is cheap. You can get replacement parts. It's just great if you are kind of on a budget and you don't need a lot of fancy stuff. It doesn't have whorls, but you can adjust the tension, and you can adjust the speed and the direction of the twist. And it has a little drive band. And they have a mini one, which is even cheaper, and then they have the regular size, and Sarah's is the regular size one. So anyway, the wheel that Monica's dad made, but has bobbins that have 2 different whorl sizes. So you can swap, like one is bigger, so you can have different tension. I don't know if that's tension or what, but like you can have the, yeah, I think that's what, you know, yeah, if you want it to go in faster, you use the smaller side. And I didn't know at first what that was even about. And then I saw some like more videos about whorls and I was like, oh, that's the why. Like there's no right side it goes on, but anyway. And then it just has a treadle and an orifice with hooks on either side. And yeah, that's it. So I'll take sometime I'll have like a video of me spinning or something and I'll put in here. But yeah, it's been really fun. So I went on Saturday, I played with it a little bit. I have a bunch of show and tell here for spinning. And I made myself a terrible attempt at yarn, but it was, you know, it's yarn. I supplied this and I'm never gonna use it. I'm gonna keep it forever as my first tiny little skein of hand spun. The reason it's so small is because I got it tiny nitty knotty because that's what they had at the store. And I always make fun of Sarah because she has a tiny nitty knotty and she really likes it because it makes looks different, looks like a little loaf instead of like a skein when she puts it into a skein. But I always make fun of her for that because I'm like, it's so stupid. I don't say that, but it looks really funny. So, but then I got one without even realizing it and I was like, this is so small. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like this is karma for me making fun of the small nitty knotty. Because there were so many times that I was like, she was like, I don't want to get a bigger one. It's too expensive. And I'm like pointing my phone. I'm like, it's $30. It's not expensive. Like you should get it. But I was like, it's a better yardage counter. And then she just got like an electric yardage counter and was like, I don't need the bigger nitty knotty. But that was funny anyway. So yeah, this is my first hand spun. And it is, yeah. It is an attempt that I'm going to keep forever because it's my first yarn. And it was, okay, so at Monica's, yeah, I was going with, okay, so this was the roving that she had. She was like, use this because don't use I'd bought this BFL that was beautiful mixed BFL. And she was like, don't use that yet. Use mine. She's like, I've had this for years. I don't even know what kind of sheep it is. We were trying to figure it out last night. And Sarah was like, I think it's Romney. So we think it might be somewhere close to Romney. It's very airy and I don't know if there's like, it looks really, this is the mixed BFL that I got at the store. And this is a lot like denser and smoother. So this one has more air in it. I don't know. Anyway, I used this. Monica called it expletive roving because she didn't think it was nice. But I actually, having worked with a few different types of wool now, I really like this one. I find this easy to draft. It's easier to draft than the BFL. Well, sometimes I just like to switch between them because it's just like different. But I have been using both of those this week and a couple of other things that I'll show you. And so I worked with this for a few hours and just kind of like strangled it into nothing. Monica did give me a lot of good pointers, like, you know, you should, you know, pre-drafting and stuff. And I have been pre-drafting. Like I still can't spin across the top, like back and forth. Like I've watched some videos and I think I just, well, Sarah was like, oh yeah, you can just, I was like, do you do that? And she was like, yeah, just take some practice. So like, I'm just going to keep spinning and eventually I think I'm going to figure out how to spin across the top, but we'll see. So I used this And then I did some more of this, and this was my second attempt, which is better. Like this is like a more usable, it's quite bulky, but it's like a more usable kind of yarn. And as you can see, there's a lot of thick and thin. There's a lot of, you know, different amounts of ply in this yarn. But you know, I have the basics down where you sort of like spin in one direction, then you ply in the other direction. Like I got that down, so I knew that. I watched a lot of stuff on YouTube, and you know, I watched my friend spin all summer, so it was kind of like, you know, having that to kind of go off of was really helpful. So some of the, anyway, and then I had like more of the white, and I applied it with this green. This is the BFL, the green is the BFL, and they're about the same weight. So I think I'm gonna try to like make a hat or something with these. And it's just gonna be kind of like jumbo bulky, but I would like to, you know, make something with it. First usable, kind of hand spun. This one I thwacked. I think I thwacked this one. I can't remember. I enjoy that part. I think that's fun. So yeah, I don't really know what happened here. I think the yarn kind of just like broke a few times, and like it's just, when I wind this, I'm not gonna be able to use the ball winder probably. That's just what I've determined. But that's fine. I didn't, obviously you can see that the green and white here, I balled that up myself because it was kind of tangled. Because this one, I think I've used, basically because the Nitty Knotty is so small, I've just been like winding it onto my Swift, which is fine. You can do that as long as you don't tangle it or whatever. But yeah, this one I balled up last night, and I just balled it up right off the Swift without a winder because it was kind of tangly. But I figured it out, you know, it was fine. So I think I'm gonna do something like that. Okay, then the next yarn I made was well, I'll show you this bobbin because there's still some left. So this was kind of like my early attempts, because you can see there are a lot of tufts that are just kind of like hanging out, and it's not great, but I dyed these. This is all BFL roving. This is the mixed BFL. It smells really good. And some of this was better. Like you can see these purple singles here are a lot thinner. Like it's like more like when you apply that together, it'll be like a more usable like sport DK worsted kind of yarn. And my, so I've been spinning for now like 5 days, 6 days, five days. No, 6, because I did spin this morning at 4:30. Well, not 4:30. I got up at like 5:30 and I spun for like an hour, and it was great. It was really nice. Okay, that was my last sip of coffee, so now it's gone. I've had 2 coffees today because I'm like, okay, oh, now you can see these whorls are different sizes. So this one's bigger and this one's smaller. And I think that, yeah, I figured out after a few days, oh, that's how you adjust tension. There's no break or anything like that. There's just like none of, and I'm like, you know, right for now, all I really want to do is spin yarn to quote unquote cover my own habit, which is, yeah, because spin cycle is expensive, and I really like barber pulled yarn, especially in color work and stuff, but I want to make my own because it's way cheaper and I can do the colors that I want. And that was another thing that I learned from watching my friend spin, was that she was dyeing a lot of this fiber and just like deciding what colors to use together. And I was like, that's really cool. I want to do that, like with what's in my head, because I'd be like, you should do that. And she would never do it because she makes yarn based on what she wants to do. And I was like, oh yeah, I should just do that because then I can decide what colors to make everything. So so this was the blue, and Jordan dyed this blue. We had a little dye fest last Friday night. It was a little fun. And then I did the purple, and I spun these together. And then I got in the mail from the Woolery, and I will link the thing. Sarah showed me how to braid these, which was helpful. You basically chain ply this together and it creates this braid. This is Corriedale, and then I didn't dye this top or this roving. So there's this blue, which is just called like blue. I think this one was called Amethyst, this purple. And then there was this Midnight Blue. So I spun some of this as well on another bobbin, and I plied them together. And this is what happened. I thwacked this, and like, again, like a lot of it just kind of like came out of the, maybe if I do like this, I think it's just kind of a matter of like figuring out where these go, because they like didn't get totally tied down by some of these things, but they should be tied. It's, you know, something like that. Yeah, there we go. So this is not quite dry yet, but again, there's some really thick bits. The Corriedale was a little bit of a learning curve because it was just different. And I had to like, again, I just had to like strip it down and like massively pre-draft it, which was fine. But yeah, so again, like there's just like knots because I had to like tie it together because it was underplied and it just broke while I was plying, which is fine. But I have this problem, and I told Sarah that I had this problem, and she was like, that's ridiculous. And I was like, I keep losing the end. Like it'll just like come out of my hands because it's not, like twist isn't tight enough, and I just lose it on the bobbin. And she was like, that's like, what is wrong with you? And then she used the wheel and the same thing happened, and I was like, see, it's a problem. So that was really funny because I kept having to like cut the yarn to like find the end. When I was plying it, it was just like a total nightmare, and then it would get stuck because like it was a whole thing. So I think I've mostly stopped having that issue because I've mostly stopped having the yarn just break in my hands, unless I use like a completely new fiber, which it broke a bunch when I was using the electric spinner last night, because I was like messing with the tension. And so that was kind of fun. And then I kind of got the feel for it, and I was like, yeah, I really like this. But yeah, I kept like, like trying to find the treadle, and like when I wanted it to stop, I would like stop my foot moving, and then it's like, oh my god, it doesn't stop, and you have to like turn the switch. So that was kind of ridiculous, but I am excited about this. This is again closer to like, there's definitely some thick and thin, but I would like to like make a cowl or something that's like, you know, not gonna matter too much. I really want to make the inclinations cowl with my like giant chunky handspun. I think I might wait until I have like some slightly more usable gauge in terms of gauge handspun, like a little less thick and thin, but I would like to make the inclinations cowl. Okay, so this is the Corriedale that I used. I ordered some more fiber. I think I said this on my channel last week, but when I go to Rhinebeck next week, I'm only buying fiber. I'm not buying any yarn. This is my pact with myself. I have plenty of yarn, so I'm not buying any yarn, but I am gonna buy fiber and spinning supplies, I think. So what else do I have here? Oh, this stuff. So this is the last stuff that's left, and after I record, I might finish spinning this. It's like flamey and fiery, and I was inspired by the colorway Devilish Grin from Spin Cycle, but this doesn't have any like dark, well, it has this red, this is some of the BFL, I think, yeah, and this definitely the variegation in the BFL roving, which is again the mixed BFL just comes together. Oh, I said I was gonna say what I got from the WolleRodel. No, sorry, it's early in the morning. What I got from Etsy. I got a pound of Cheviot and a pound of, I think, gray Corriedale, because I want to try dyeing on gray. Like Spin Cycle Nocturne is dyed on gray, and it's like really cool. So I'm gonna try dyeing on gray. Just, you get really nice kind of different depth of color when you dye, especially jewel tones on gray. Super nice. So I'm gonna do that. And I got a couple of braids of merino. So I haven't spun merino yet. So let's show this, and then I'll show you some of the other samples that I have here of fiber. So these are the two bobbins. This one is the one I'm working on now. This is a smaller bobbin, and it's an Ashford bobbin, but it does fit on the wheel. I just can only use this last 4 orifice hooks. I can't use the first 2. There's 6 hooks. This is the BFL. So I did BFL on this bobbin, and there was like, I mostly knew what was what because it's obvious, but like there were definitely some BFL pieces still mixed into this, but I think there was less of I dyed some of this and some of this in every pot. And I did 3 pots because this one was one of the ones that Sarah gave me, and I think it's Romney. This is really draftable for me, like way more draftable than the BFL or well, this is still pretty draftable because I've gotten used to it, but I really like this one. This one is like, whatever, I think it's Romney. Well, she said I think it's Romney, so I think it's Romney. So that is what have been great. But these are much more, as you can see, like there's definitely some like overply But, you know, if my plyback looks like that, I'm happy with it. And it's more evenly like kind of at like a lace-ish weight single, like a heavy lace weight single. So I think when I ply these together, because this is just fluffier, it's gonna be weird because it's 2 fibers plied together, or it will be 2 fibers plied together. But I am interested to see what weight this comes out as and if it's also super thick and thin. So it's gonna be, you know, because this is much more variegated than this, it's gonna be interesting. So I'm almost done with this spin, and then I'm gonna let the bobbins rest and I'm gonna apply it tomorrow. And that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna find out, I don't know, I think it's gonna be a lot. Like I think there's quite a lot of fiber, like 3 to 5 ounces, maybe 6 ounces. It's gonna be a lot. Like, I'm gonna see if it's usable. I'm gonna see like what the gauge is, and then I might make like a larger project. I would really like to make a colorwork yoke or like an all over colorwork sweater with my red and orange fiery hand spun. Just maybe I'll make a cowl if there's like not quite that much, but we'll see. Okay. Then I dyed this. This is the mixed BFL. Yeah, this is BFL. And then this is for lack of, oh no, Sarah spun the other, this is what she was spinning. And so I was like, where's the other? But she was trying this out on the wheel last night, playing singles. This is a little felted. But this is like a green that I dyed up the other day, which is fun. And this is the BFL version. And it's this one's not felted. This is quite draftable. You can pre-draft that. Like that's what I do. Like I strip it like this, and then I like sometimes I strip it again, so it's just like this, just so it, you know, I still have to draft, but I'm like, there's not so much like fluff just coming off of it. And I was watching one of Andrea Mowry's videos the other day where she was interviewing Jillian Moreno, who wrote Yarnitecture, which is a book that I very much am planning to get. And she was like, yeah, when I first started spinning, I just had all this like crap coming off of them. I was like, thank God that's normal. And I like have saving it all because Sarah has a blending board that she made, and so she can make a Rolex with it. And I was like, you take this, please, like someone use it. So here's some of the stuff that we just like swapped some fibers. She dyed this one, and this is Rambouillet. So this is what I was using, or it was this fiber, it was a different color that I was using last night on the electric wheel. And this drafted way faster than, and it has a pretty short staple length, as you can see. And so this was like coming out of my hands really fast. And so I was like messing with the tension because it was like just breaking, and the twist wasn't high enough. Like I needed it like lower tension, higher twist. And then this was also, I don't know where this came from. I don't know why I broke off such a small piece because that's like nothing. This is also Rambouillet. This is real nice. And then this one is Jacob. And I think this one was kettle dyed. She dyes all of her fiber too. So this one is like much woollier, and there's like, I'm not sure if this, like you would say there's Kemp in this, but it's definitely like, I mean, it's fully draftable for sure, but it feels much more like the staple length is longer, and it's like or the micron count is lower, sorry. That's what I mean. It's like not quite as soft in the hand while drafting. I haven't actually spun this yet. Clearly, I'm talking as though I know everything about this, and I like really don't. But I have had a good time. I have really been, again, like pretty motivated this week to kind of like really work at it just to kind of achieve the consistency in my singles in terms of the twist and the, you know, the thickness. So gauge, I guess. That's what that's called. I'm a knitter, I understand that word. So I'm really just kind of hoping to like achieve that so that it can just be, at least for now, just kind of something that I do and can do, make a usable yarn. And then, you know, it's one of those things, this is how I feel about knitting, right? I learned to knit when I was a kid, and I got very good at just the motion of knitting, drafting, knitting this thing. And I, you know, I understood DPNs, how to knit in the round on circular needles, that kind of thing. I could knit in purl and cable, but I didn't really have any desire to do more than just kind of the motion of knitting until I was like out of college and, you know, had kind of people around to inspire me to do that, to like learn more knitting skills, which was awesome. And I did, and it became like I already had the kind of enough of the like knowing physically how to do the motion so that it wasn't like a steep learning curve, and I could kind of like enjoy learning how to make lace and how to make sweaters and how to do color work and that kind of thing without like being frustrated. So I'm kind of trying to get over the hump, because this is like riding a bike, you know, this kind of physical motion that you do. So I'm trying to get over the like hump of learning how to do it so that I can just kind of do it when I feel like it in the future. And then, because, you know, I'm a knitter, like that is something that I obviously have achieved a much more like, I don't want to say necessarily expert status, because I'm not like a master knitter, but like I am very confident. I have a channel about knitting and yarn on YouTube. Like, you know, I'm a confident knitter. I know that I can kind of do a lot with that because I like let myself kind of explore that in this bigger way for a long time. And I have been kind of exploring that for about the last 6 years. So for spinning, it's kind of like, you know, you don't need to have all these wheels around. Like you can kind of go delve into that when it's like the right time and you have kind of room and the budget to like get all this stuff and like fancy wheels and like learn more stuff about tension and, you know, how to make a consistent yarn, how to make different types of yarn. And so for now, I'm just kind of enjoying like exploring different fibers and dyeing them because I like to dye yarn. And yeah, so it's been fun. I've really had a good time this week, and I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm trying not to do, because this week I have definitely been kind of like gung-ho on the spinning, and I've like knitted a lot less, as you can see. I have been knitting other things, like my DK socks and stuff, especially like I work on Zooms, and I have like things that I want to knit in the next couple months, namely my hand spun. But we'll see how that goes. I think I'm just really excited to try the hand spun out, to knit, especially with, I think this is gonna be my first kind of hand spun that I'm really enjoying. So after I do this one, and spin that and ply that up, I'm gonna do this this one that's still wet, but in this bucket, this tealy one. I'm gonna apply that with, I'm gonna spin that, excuse me, with, I just did some more, it's on the stove, it's cooling off. It's like a lilac and like a baby blue kind of mix, and then might spin that up also with this green and do some like cool colors, like some purple, some pond scum, like kind of like, these are like the hot colors. Thinking of doing kind of like a cool color mix and see what happens with that. If you have any suggestions for colors to dye, because I'm getting more yarn, more roving, excuse me, yarn. Yeah, I'm getting more yarn. I'm always getting more yarn. I'm getting more roving. You know, I would love suggestions. If you've got colorways that you can think of that you're like, oh, you should do that. I can't wait. So I would like to get to the point where, so Andrea Mowry has been talking about this a bunch on her channel, and just totally inspiring. Like, I started spinning for a sweater. I would really like to spin myself yarn for a sweater, and I want to knit the nurtured sweater, which is what she did. She did a bunch of hand spun, that, she said that the nurtured pattern was very forgiving because it's a texture pattern. So I think I'm going to knit that once I have I don't know if I'm going to, I'll get like a couple of pounds of fiber and I'll spin myself yarn for that once I figure out kind of what fiber I really like, and that kind of thing. So I'm excited about it. I can't wait. I think it's gonna be a good time. And hopefully I don't get too deep into this that I'd never knit anymore. So, because then what would I do with all this hand spun yarn? So I am going to hopefully next week show you maybe some samples that I've knit up. That would be really, actually, I don't know next week. You know what I'll do next week is I'm going to Rhinebeck. Next week, I'll just record some footage at Rhinebeck. Me and Nitin are going to go to Rhinebeck on Saturday. I'm going to Wool and Folk. So if you see me at Wool and Folk, I'll be with Maggie and Karine from the Woolly Thistle, which is super exciting. And on Saturday, I will be at the podcaster meetup with them also. And I might go to the DRK, the Alpenglow meetup, because I did knit an Alpenglow. I just don't know if I want to wear it to Rhinebeck, because I have I don't know what the temperature is going to be like. And B, I have a lot of Fair Isle that I want to wear, because that's my thing that I do. I'm like a Fair Isle knitter. So, but I think I might wear it on Saturday. I do love it. It's really, and the weather looks like it's going to be really nice. I checked the weather for here because usually if it's gonna rain here, it's gonna rain there, and it doesn't look like rain. And here it was like a high of 62, and I was like, that is perfect, especially in upstate New York if the high is like closer to like 58 or 60, but it's still nice weather even if it's overcast. I'm really excited because Maryland sheep and wool was such a, do you say a wash? Like a wash is like, no, I don't think that's the term. It was literally raining so hard though. That's why I was gonna say it was a wash because we were washed out. But we had a good time. I went with Nitin and Hannah and Kayla. You probably saw my footage if you've been following my channel for Maryland Sheep and Wool. So I will, next week probably will just be me and Nitin hanging out at Rhinebeck, and we'll see who we see. If we make friends, maybe they'll be on the channel. And we've been like planning this for like years, and like it hasn't really been able to happen because there like hasn't been Rhinebeck, and like I wasn't. Oh, last year at the weekend of Rhinebeck, I went to a wedding in Philadelphia, so I couldn't come to Rhinebeck. And Nitin, oh, he was supposed to come to Philly that weekend, and then I went to Baltimore for a while, and I was like staying with Nitin while I was like getting my references checked for this job because I didn't know if I was gonna get it, but I knew my references were getting checked. So I just like packed up my car and brought a bunch of stuff to Baltimore because I knew I was gonna move here eventually or to the area. And I might have like said this on my channel last year, and I stayed with Nitin for like a week and a half. Found out I got the job, but because of it's a university and HR stuff takes forever, it wasn't starting for a month. So I came back to Vermont and hung out there until like Thanksgiving, and then I moved back here into my own place. So I was supposed to go there. Well, he was going to come to Philly, and then we were going to go back to Baltimore, but he got rhabdomyolysis or whatever it's called, where you get a lactic acid buildup in your muscles because he had COVID but didn't know it. Like he was completely asymptomatic, and because he only found out because he went to the hospital and they tested him for COVID and it was positive. So some doctors think Nitin, sorry for sharing all this personal information about you, but he went to like a spin class, and like, you know, spin classes are hard, but like he's not like somebody who never goes to spin class or never exercises, obviously exercises a lot. So you sometimes get rhabdo from like overworking your muscles, like a specific muscle group, like more than you usually work it. But that wasn't like something that should have happened in this case, but he got like, it was like something happens where like, I don't know if it's lactic acid, something builds up and it gets into your bloodstream and it can like poison your kidneys and your liver. So he was in the hospital for like a week. So we're going to Rhinebeck for the anniversary of Nitin's rhabdo. So just coincidentally. So we didn't go last year either, but very excited to go. And I'll be at Wool and Folk with Maggie and Kareen, and then Nitin and I will be at Rhinebeck on Saturdays. So come say hi. It's gonna be a good time. So yeah, I think that's all. This has been long. I've talked about a lot of stuff, and I want to go finish the spin before I have to go to work. And luckily it's Friday, so it's kind of like a later start. The reason I go to work so early is because the parking lot kind of fills up sometimes, but there are still work from home days for UMBC. So a lot of people work at home on Fridays. I never work at home because I see students every day, like in person in my office. And I have, today I have like an event, I have a community meeting to attend for one of the scholarship programs I advise. Actually, I teach their freshman success skills class. So that'll be fun. I get to knit. I always sit with this other staff member who is nice and kind of my buddy. And she always asks me what I'm knitting and if it's the same thing that I was knitting the last time she saw me, because she never remembers. But I'm always knitting a sock. So I'm like, no, it's not the same sock, but it's a sock. So yeah, anyway, that is fun. So if you want some more content, I should say this at the beginning, but if you want to get notified, you can click the little bell next to like the subscribe spot. You can like and subscribe. Yeah, I'm getting up there in subscribers, like inching to 2K, so that's exciting. I really hope you enjoy this channel and my natterings, and I'm not trying to make this into spinning content exclusively, but I will be sharing all of my hand spin updates if I'm spinning, always. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, email me, barnabyknits@gmail.com. That link is in the show notes. All of my links will be in the show notes. And yeah, I'm going to link like the places I get my fiber and stuff like that. Can't link the wheel because Monica's dad made it. But I'll link the place I buy my yarn as well, my undyed yarn. It's Wool to Dye For. So I will link that too, if you would like to buy some undyed yarn and try dyeing yourself. Maybe I'll do an episode sometime where it's like a full on, like, here's what you need to do to become a dyer, because it's actually not very hard. You can kind of get like a couple things and then like slowly build up what you have, and it doesn't take up that much space. I have an electric griddle and two stock pots kind of that I use, but it doesn't take up much space. I have a lot of dye colors because they're not very expensive, and yeah, you just need some stuff that you're not going to use for cooking because you don't want to mix that. And you need to be careful and not spill dye everywhere because that can happen. And you need a sink and yeah, heat source. So I have a griddle. Again, if people are interested in this, I will do an episode on how you dye yarn and stuff like that. I'm not an expert, so like I'll just like give you, you know, if I talk about this on the channel, I'll tell you what I have and then I'll link like other helpful dyers. Yeah, I'm thinking of doing some School of Sweet Georgia, like subscribing to the School of Sweet Georgia for a few months to do some spin classes and some dyeing classes, because I want to learn some of the complex dye techniques, like how to speckle properly and stuff, because I never really properly ever learned that. And I try, but sometimes it's just over speckled and like, I don't know. Anyway, so, and I'm wary about dye because, you know, it's like dangerous to breathe it in, and even if I have N95. Anyway, now I'm just rambling and I want to spin before work. So thank you for watching. Again, I think I've said that like 3 times. This has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Bye.